Hey guys, Gozier plus back time more to your days once again, and I am making my first kind of Falcons review video. Now, I don't do these commonly. I did one midway through last season. Um, I didn't do one at the end of the season. I just kind of I didn't forget about this channel really, but it just wasn't on my priorities list. But I do want to talk about the Falcons more. They are my favorite football team or favorite sports team. I do want to get my thoughts out. I thought after a pretty good Vikings win and some time to spare, I might as well get my thoughts out now. So, without further ado, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to Goldie Jr. Watch all my other videos. They're pretty cool, I think. Okay, so I want to start with Michael Penix. Penix is a pretty, a little on the older side for a 1 year veteran. He's 25 at this point in time. So far, he's had 2 games with no interceptions, but also 2 combined touchdowns. He had 1 touchdown passing, 1 rushing last week, and he had no touchdowns at all this week. But if you were to purely grade him based off how complete of a quarterback he's been pretty solid. Now, I didn't love what he did last week. I mean, this week, he missed a few open receivers, and not all of them were open, but some of them were just not really open. But that was if you made that pass, he would have had a chance to catch it, kind of like the Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod situations. Now, I feel like Penix's struggles are kind of overshadowed by how good our defense was and how how terrible McCarthy was. And we already know what he can do. We saw what he did against the Bucks. Okay, we all saw that. But that's not what the Falcons want. The Falcons don't want Penix throwing 40. They probably don't even want Penix throwing 30 passes. They want him to be throwing probably 24 or less, and then 10 to 12 plus carries for both of our running backs. That's how we want to win games. That's how we beat the Vikings. As you can see, last week we struggled to run the ball, and even though Penix tried his hardest to save us, it wasn't enough. If the Falcons want to force less than 30 points a game, hopefully less than 24 points a game, which we've done both weeks, and then at least score enough to surmount that, which we can do running the ball. We've scored 20 points in week 1, 22 points in week 2, and Penix has only scored 14 of those 42 total points. But it doesn't matter. Penix is in his second season. He has the receiver core, but not only was Mooney hurt, but London and Pitts haven't gone exceptionally open recently. So it's not like Penix has free passes downfield. He's done a lot of checkdowns. He's thrown 63 passes? I mean, how many of those are more than 10 air yards? How many? There's probably not a ton. But I want to get Panks out the way quickly because there's just not much to say about him right now. If it was specifically out the Bucks after the Bucks game, I had a lot to say. I have to cover the entire 2 weeks with all of our stuff. So Panks has been good. If I had to grade him, I'd give him a B plus. He's made some mistakes, specifically just sometimes on third down. He's just not as accurate as he could be. But his offensive line hasn't been perfect. His receivers definitely have not been perfect. And all in all, he's done enough to get us in a position where if we can beat the Panthers, that's a winning record. I think the good way to move after Penix is with our offensive line. Because then I'll do weapons and I'll go to the defense. Okay. Our offensive line is interesting, okay? Because we got Lindstrom, Jake Matthews, Bergeron still here, but Drew Dalman has been replaced by Ryan Nuzul, and Taylor McGarry with an injury has been replaced by Elijah Wilkinson. Nuzul has been just fine. I haven't noticed a single change from playing with Nuzul to playing with from playing with Dalman to Nuzul. Now, our entire offensive line got destroyed by Vita Vea against the Bucks, but that's Vita Vea. You can't run against Vita Vea. You're going to lose, okay? Is that simple. But Nuzul was just fine in the Vikings game. I didn't notice any mistakes. Jake Matthews and Chris Lindstrom were probably worse than Nuzul. I think Nuzul was our best lineman against the Vikings, just pure eye test. I didn't rewatch the game or anything, but if you just watched that Vikings-Falcons game, you notice Bergeron struggled against stunts. Jake Matthews, I believe, had a penalty and got beat by Dallas Turner. Lindstrom was getting beat by like number 61 or something, and Elijah Wilkinson is not good. So it was pretty clearly Ryan Nuzul who had the best performance this week. but over offensive line in general, it's been fine. I believe he's taken 4 sacks in the first 2 games. I think he took one against the Bucks and 3 against the Vikings, something like that. Maybe it was 2 against the Bucks. Either way, we haven't taken an insane amount of sacks, so I want to take a little bit less. But pass protection, we've been pretty fine. Just some mistakes here and there. And run blocking, specifically against the Vikings, was amazing. And against the Bucks, it wasn't great. So I'd give our offensive line like a C plus to a B minus. We've seen flashes of that elite offensive line from last year. We probably need a little bit more time to refine it, though. And I think the Panthers give us a good opportunity because that's the worst D-line we've played so far. The Bucks, they have Vita Vea, and that's all I have to say there. And the Vikings, they had a pretty decent offensive line, defensive line, even though it didn't show out. I think the Panthers should give us a good shot. Okay, weapons, which includes everybody. I'm not going into running backs and receivers, but we're going to start with the running backs. Bijan is still a top 3 running back. He was top 5 last year, but you could debate between because you knew Barkley and Henry were number 1 and 2. And then it was kind of like, would you prefer Josh Jacobs, Jameer Gibbs, or Bijan Robinson? I'd obviously take Robinson over all those players, but that's just because I've watched the insane things that Bijan's done, and I just can't take anyone over him. I think no one really thinks Jacobs is top 3, so we can push him out. And that's basically Bijan versus Jameer Gibbs. Either way, Bijan has already been absolutely insane. Already over 100 scrimmage yards in both week 1 and 2. Week 1, he was a receiving threat. Week 2, they couldn't stop him in the run game. That proves whatever we need Bijan to do, he's just so effective. He doesn't go down at first contact. And, there's just not much else to say about him. It's Bijan Robinson. All right? But I'm going to move on from Robinson real quick because we know what Bijan Robinson is. I'm very happy with how Tyler Algiers played. He was kind of the better running back last week, and then this week, because Bijan was struggling a lot last week. And this week, Algier just closed out basically the entire fourth quarter because we just were trying to run out clock and Algier would not be brought down. And it was also just because Algier works so insanely well with our run scheme. It's just a perfect pairing, so it makes Algier maybe look better than he actually is. I'm not saying Algier isn't good, but I think this whatever we're doing with this offensive line is making him look like a premier running back. It's like you questioning how he's not starting. And I'll move to the receivers because I'm not as happy. Mooney was hurt and then barely got targeted in week 2. Not his fault, really. I saw some decent separation. He probably got the best separation out of our less targeted receivers this week. I'm talking about Mooney and McLeod. And I guess you can include Pitts in there, but he had 5 targets. I don't know. London had that terrible fumble. He was fine besides that. Pitts was what he needed to be this week. We weren't going to throw the ball a lot, which means we were going to throw the ball to him a lot. But he didn't drop any passes or anything. Pitts was just fine. There's just not much to say about the receivers so far. I didn't grade the running backs, but I'll grade the weapons as a whole. I'll grade the weapons a B. They haven't been, elevating Penix, but they also haven't been hurting him too much. But London was not great last week, and then this week he fumbled. So, maybe give him lower than B minus then. I'm sorry, weapons haven't been exciting me, but also we're not trying to be an exciting team. The Falcons don't care about being exciting. We are 1-1 playing against the Panthers. That should be hopefully 2-1. Maybe we'll see some more passes there since the Panthers don't have the best secondary. But we'll see. Hope to see more from London and Pitts. On to the defensive side of things, I want to start with linebackers because this might be the best part of our defense. Caden Ellis and Divine Diablo are 2 of the best free agent pickups the Falcons have done in the Terry Fontenot era. And Terry Fontenot's had some really good free agent signings. Caden Ellis has been good since the year we signed him. He's been a really, really good run stopper, really solid in pass, and then an amazing blitzer. And then Divine Diablo is just always near the football. I don't know how the Raiders just let him go. But I wasn't even excited for Diablo, but they're really making me excited for him because he's had 2 amazing weeks in a row. He's probably been better than Caden Ellis, and I expected Caden Ellis to be our premier linebacker. But I think it's just because Ellis hasn't been getting there as much with his blitzes, so he doesn't look as effective. Even though he's doing just fine. But yeah, these linebackers, they get an A+. There's been no problems for linebackers. It's weird. We literally only use these 2 because Walker doesn't go in linebacker at all. and I have not seen a backup linebacker play for us at all. So it's just Ellis and it's just Diablo, and they're doing just fine. But let's okay, secondary. AJ Terrell, he's been okay. I mean, when you don't have much to say about a corner, I guess it's a good thing. But he got hurt for the second half of the Vikings game. He wasn't great in the first half either. He did fine against the Bucks receivers. Terrell was fine. Okay, he's been fine this so far. Mike Hughes, another player that I don't have much to say. He's been good in coverage. The plays that he messed up on or was apparently beat on weren't really his fault. Hughes was in zone, I believe, both times, and the safeties were making mistakes there. So I don't have much to say about Hughes, but I think he's been worse than Terrell, I'll say. Now, our most effective cornerback has been Billy Bowman, who had an interception this week and a sack last week. And it has also just been all around the football in both short passes and runs. Billy Bowman fell to the fourth round, and he has been probably one of the best rookies in the NFL. It doesn't make sense, but Bowman has been an amazing corner, and I was questioning why we benched the Alfred so prematurely, but I can see why after seeing Billy Bowman play. Now, as we move on to the safeties, Jesse Bates has been interesting because I just haven't heard his name. I know it's been 2 weeks, but even watching the Vikings game, I didn't see him do anything. Did he have a single tackle? I'm not sure. But surely he's been doing good coaching up Xavier Watts because Watts has been great. Besides that one play at the end of the half where Justin Jefferson absolutely cooked him with that double move, Watts had that interception. He had a couple of near interceptions last week. Watts has been effective. He just needs to be a little bit less aggressive. I know you learned that from Jesse Bates, but you need to dial it back a little bit. Also, I believe Bates was the reason we lost to the Bucks. So I'm not crazy happy about this secondary, but they don't need to do. They've allowed only 29 points in 2 games. So I'll give them a B too, just a B grade. And then you move to the defensive lineman, which has been interesting. Against the Vikings, Leonard Floyd, Brandon Dorless, Rook Ahohoro, Zach Harrison, and then James Pierce and Jalen Walker all recorded at least half a sack. That's 6 different players. Because Floyd, Pierce, Walker, Dorless, Ahohoro, Harrison. That's 6 different players that recorded a sack against McCarthy and the Vikings. Now we didn't do much against the Bucks because they have a great offensive line. But even still, doing that at all. And all these guys are at most, I think, 3-year veterans. Or in their third year. Harrison's in his third year, besides Leonard Floyd. Harrison's in his third year. Dorless and Ahohoro are in their second year. And Pierce and Walker are in their first year. And they all just picked up at least half a sack. Seems like Floyd and Onyemata have been great mentors. And Onyemata was good in run defense too this week. He didn't do nothing in pass, but he was a great run stopper this week. I'm especially excited for Dorless. That man looks like a dog. Don't doubt Terry's defensive drafting prowess. They were all around the football constantly. I think the only one who wasn't effective in both out of the young guys in both run and pass protection today was Walker, because Walker wasn't great in the run game. Walker and Pierce as a whole. I mean, I know the edge rushers and the Vikings mostly ran in between their center and guard, but they didn't do much, to be fair. Orhoro and Dorless were effective in run and pass, but I'm giving the D line so far an A minus. Very good performance from them. And that brings us to the coaching staff. Okay. Defensive coaching. I don't love how much big plays we give up at times, but we only give up one to the Vikings, and the Bucks are going to get big plays on you. Ulbrich has been fine. He's been good. He's only allowed 29 points in 2 games. He just schemed up one of the best defensive performances the Falcons have ever seen. Oh, I didn't even mention Ebiketie for defensive line. He has not been on the field as much as I thought he'd be. That's all I'm going to say. I'm surprised he's not been on the field that much. But Ulbrich has been really good. Like he forced Baker Mayfield like into like 5 of 11 in his first 11 passes. I know everything broke down, but offense still was the reason we lost against the Bucks. Besides that last drive against the Bucks. Ulbrich, I'm pretty happy with him. He hasn't been perfect, obviously. I didn't expect him to be, but with how much people hated this move, Ulbrich has been fine. I'm giving him a B plus. Jimmy Lake, you're getting F. Is F not crazy? I don't think it is. Jimmy Lake has been bad. He couldn't even get a play in after calling a timeout and got getting to delay a game. I don't know what Jimmy Lake's doing. And not only that, but he's just so weird. And not in a like a oh he's a quirky play caller, but like it's just you're just always asking what are you doing? Like I one of the main issues for me is that after the Falcons were running the ball so much in the second half, and then we start to saw it a little bit, which obviously out here ending that streak. We never decide, oh, why don't we just do play action out of that formation that we were running so much in and a deep ball to pitch to London. Just try it. They never did. They're I don't know, man. They're so scared. And I'm like, why are you scared of Michael Penix? Yeah, he's probably gonna make a mistake or two. But Penix is one of the nastiest gunslingers in the NFL. And then I don't even know, man. It's so hard to say specifically what's wrong with Lake, but I'm not happy. Let's just move on to Raheem Morris. He always looks so mad on the sidelines, and not mad like angry mad, but he just looks like he doesn't want to be here, which I don't think I like that. But Morris has done fine. He hasn't had any clock blunders. I think some of the things that went on in that Bucks game were very troubling, and still isn't great at keeping all of his timeouts for the end of the half. But Morris has done enough for us, I feel like, to go 2-0. And besides keeping Koo after last season, I don't know why we did that. I don't think Koo should have ever been considered. But Morris, I'll give him like a C plus. I don't think we beat the Vikings because of his coaching. I think we beat them because we had one of the craziest young stud performances. Like, why are all our players under 25 just absolute dogs this week? I don't know. But I'm gonna say our coaching staff has been painfully average, just like our record. Now I want to see something special against the Commanders, not really the Panthers, because that's a tough team that we haven't been able to beat for like what 4 times in a row. I want to see something new. I want to see something crazy. There's Parker Romo, my boy. But yeah, I'm gonna kind of wrap it up there. It felt a little bit rushed, but I don't want this to be too long. It's been 2 weeks. All right. I'll have more to say about the Falcons and the Bulldogs later, so stay tuned. See you guys later.